Ever since I started building things and sharing it online, I've been requested over and over and over to build some sort of an off-road trailer. And I actually have a couple different ones that I want to build over time. So we're going to start with the easy one, well, easy-ish, and that is going to be basically a gear carrier with a rooftop tent mounted on top. We're going to do a lot of this build with recycled parts, and a friend of mine gave me an old Harbor Freight trailer to start with. Right away, I know a bunch of you are wondering, why reuse this old Harbor Freight trailer instead of just build a new one? Because you're going to see in the series, it's going to cost us a few grand to build a cool trailer that is going to check all the boxes. So for basically for another couple $100s of material, I could build a rigid frame from scratch, and it would be a lot stronger than this Harbor Freight trailer. Well, the short answer is that in Washington right now, you can't even schedule a vehicle inspection. And if I built a trailer from scratch, in order for me to get a VIN and for it to be approved and all that other stuff, I would have to go get an inspection. And I called, you can't even schedule one, and they don't even know when you will be able to schedule them again. So is it gonna be 6 months, a year and a half? Who knows? I have no idea how long it's gonna be. So we have a VIN on this trailer. We have a title, we have a clean title. It's not bent, by the way. It's just that flimsy that it looks crooked like that. So I called the Department of Transportation.
Modify if it gets. I mean, if it was too extensive, you'd have to have a
inspection.
State patrol VIN. Yeah.
And I asked them, how much of this trailer can I modify before I need an inspection legally? And basically, the way the law reads, there is some gray area here. We can't modify the structure of the trailer when it comes to changing where things are located. But we can modify it with welding. We can modify it. I theoretically can modify it by shortening it, because we're not changing the shape or structure. We are just changing we're removing material. And that's a really big gray area. But I just want this to be as legal as possible and as easy for us to go just renew the license. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this as a utility trailer, and I do know for a fact that with a utility trailer, you can build sides for them in Washington State, and that's completely legal. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna weld it in a way that's legal. We're gonna get rid of all these flimsy joints. We're gonna build walls on top of it, and that will be the rest of our trailer. But there's still gonna be the original structure underneath, the original bones, and that will make it to where as soon as I'm done, all I have to do is go re-register it in my name, because I have a clean title, and I have a perfectly legal trailer to use on the street here. So that's a long way to get around, but that is why we're gonna reuse Harbor Freight parts instead of just building the entire thing from scratch. The original design of this trailer is actually kind of cool. You can fold it in half, you can put it in a shed, or you can put it in the side of your shop and have it not take up a whole lot of space. But this has big pros and cons. The pro is portability, but the con is strength and long-term reliability. I already removed the center hinge, and so now we're going to try to weld everything up as to one solid unit. I want to get rid of all these bolts that bolted this together, not because the weld is going to be necessarily stronger, but because if we can eliminate a bolt and we can replace it with a weld, it means that the bolt won't be able to loosen up on us from a bunch of washboards, and this trailer slowly start to come apart. So this step of the process is essentially trying to turn this trailer into one big piece of steel that's all welded together, and then figure out how to mount a backbone on it, because I want to put a centerpiece that's going to run from nose to tail to make sure that this is really strong if we need to use the trailer to pull anyone out who might be stuck behind us on the trail. As you can see, our little budget trailer is coming together. So we've got a new mounting point. This goes from nose to tail, and this is to make it to where if we're pulling someone out, it is a nice sturdy connection from the front to back make it to where we're not going to put any extra undue stress on this. And just by adding this one beam down the middle made this 100 times more rigid. I couldn't believe how flimsy this thing was when I was moving it around in the shop. So yeah, we added a little bit of weight with that center beam, but we added a ton of strength, which is definitely what we want to do when we're building something that we're going to take off-road. So the rear axle, this is out of a 2003 Land Rover Discovery. When a lot of people build budget trailers, they are just using stuff they have laying around, and that is exactly what our goal is on this trailer. In the future, we're going to build a very expensive, essentially no budget trailer. But for this first one, I want to do it with stuff that I've laying around that I've been wanting to just have not sitting around and have it actually on a project. So that's why we're going to reuse the Land Rover suspension. We're going to reuse the coils, the arms and all that, and we're going to reuse this axle because it's a perfectly good axle and should have no problem trussing the weight of a lightweight trailer like this. We're using 35s because these are tires that I had laying around, and as much as I would have loved to have done a 37 or a 40, I don't have those laying around. So 35s are what we're going to use. Now, the footprint of this trailer. Right now, this lower deck is like 56 inches or something like that. We're going to come up at a 45 and then go to an upper deck that is going to be 6 foot. I kind of put together a rough drawing so you guys could see what the basic plan is. There's going to be a whole bunch of things that are going to change from the level we're at now to this, but this is the basic idea. So we're going to have a 15-gallon water tank. I want to have it nice and low because people roll these off-road trailers all the time, and I don't want to be one of these people. So I want to have lots of weight down low. And so even though we're going to sacrifice a little bit of ground clearance, it'll be higher than the rear axle and whatnot. I just want to have all that weight down nice and low. And then we're going to have the back go up at a 45. Like I said, the upper deck is going to be 6 foot. This lower deck is like 56 or something like that. And I've got a whole bunch of plans for tube work and fenders and rear bumper and all kinds of stuff that I want to do to this in the future. This is going to be kind of tall because I want the bottom of the rooftop tent to be taller than me. I'm 6'1", so it needs to be like 6'3" or so. It doesn't need to be super high, but I want it to be higher than me. And the reason for that is because when I fold this out, I want it to be basically an awning that I'll be able to cook under. And there's actually an awning that zips into the tent that we're going to use that's going to make this even better. So that is the basic plan of how we're going to move forward. And now I need to connect this suspension to the trailer, and I got to spend some time thinking of the best way to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a roller, which is what I wanted. I wanted to have a roller because I don't want this to stop progress in the shop, meaning if this is in the way and I can't pull out the Land Rover, or I can't work on something, pull something in to get it ready for a trip. I want to be able to just scoot this out of the way and then back into the way to work on it in the future. So right now we have a very lightweight roller that I can just move around and work on it as I need to. We have a set of wheel spacers. Well, they're actually wheel adapters because 5-on-5 is way easier to find cheap wheels. And so I bought some wheel adapters that I'm going to have to modify to work the way we need it. But either way, I've got wheel adapters on there that go from Land Rover to 5-on-5 and 5-on-5, just to make it easy to get a decent set of wheels for a really inexpensive price. The suspension. the way we mounted this needs gusseting, and there's gonna be like a whole frame behind it that's gonna support it. So this, I just had enough gas in my welder basically to get this system mounted. It's super strong and all, but it's not gonna be good in an impact. So we're gonna add some big gussets out of the front, and then once we build the frame behind it that's gonna hold our water tank, that is gonna make this super rigid and super strong. Give us a lot of weight down low, which is what we're looking for. So yeah, we'll start tackling that in the next one. So we'll mount our water tank. We'll start building up in the next one. We need to mount some shocks and possibly either a panhard bar, or I can go get another one of the, this came with a Watts link. So if I go to a junkyard, I could get the stuff to do the Watts link, and then that would help it with the side to side. Because I mean, we've got a little bit of side to side. It's probably not going to be too bad, but I want this to ride super stable and smooth. So we'll either do a Watts link or we're going to do a track bar. Also, we're going to mount shocks, and I'll show you why. That bounce, that happens with leaf springs too. If we've got no shocks back, now weight helps that a lot, but you can still get in a rhythm off-road if you go to through a few bumps that are just the right height, and you do it at just the right speed. You can get a buck and bronco back here, and shocks will help that tremendously. So we're going to add shocks and a few other things in the future videos. I think we did pretty good today. This was, believe it or not, you know, this is like a week of filming to get here, and a lot of it, the filming takes time, but a lot of it when I'm building something like this, like I didn't draw anything out really. There's lots of moments that you don't see on the video where I just kind of stand back and I look at it and I just think, where is going to be the best way to go from here? So there's a lot of ideas that get formulated as we go, but now that we have a game plan and we have like a foundation, the next episode I think is going to be a huge one. I think we're going to make a ton of progress in the next episode, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I got to come clean. I have a lot of anticipation for how negative the comments are going to be in this series. I think these are going to be the worst that I've ever had. My comments on the fabrication videos are so much worse than the comments in adventure videos. If you're having fun out in the woods, it's hard for people to criticize. But when you're in the shop and you're building stuff and you're being creative, it's nonstop people telling you you did it wrong. And it's not always intended to be bad. A lot of times it is constructive criticism. But as someone who used to manage people for a living, and I was a foreman plumber for many years, I can tell you that it's hard to find a person who's good at getting constructive criticism from one boss. As someone who used to be boss to many different people over the years. And those of you who are in management, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So if I'm a little bit more dormant on the comment section for these videos, it's because I anticipate this is going to be, it's just so overwhelming, even when the criticism is constructive, to take in hundreds of people's recommendations and hundreds of people saying, why didn't you do it this way? I can't believe you used a disco axle. I can't believe you used a Harbor Freight trailer. Why would you paint it when you could use Raptor liner? I mean, it is just way overwhelming. So I don't want to be insulting or anything like that. I know that this doesn't come from a place of negativity for most of you, so it's not being received that way. However, if I feel like I'm overwhelmed and the computer is making me feel bad feelings, I'm just going to go back in the shop and build. So if you see me a little more dormant in the comments for these videos, it is simply because it's very overwhelming to have constructive criticism from hundreds of people. You can only digest so much before you have to just walk away. Because it'll be people also that are giving you recommendations that completely are at opposite ends. So I hope that doesn't come off whiny or anything. That's not at all. I know that the YouTube space is just full of this. And I am more than willing to take in as much as I can, but just understand that if I'm going to answer as many of you as I can before I can't digest anymore, and I just have to come out here and build because this is my happy place. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate all of you guys who give these videos a thumbs up. It helps a ton with the algorithm. Those of you that subscribe, it is huge. It's the only reason that we can continue to do these videos is by you guys helping this channel grow and just continue to go on this direction and this trajectory. If you want to help support the channel, you can go to thedirtlifestyle.com. We have t-shirts, hats, neck gaiters, sweatshirts, all kinds of stuff. We even have beanies and stuff, I believe. Double check that. My wife handles that side of this. And we have a link to our Patreon account. Tomorrow, actually, I'm leaving for our next Patreon fan ride. We're going over to Eastern Washington and spending a couple days exploring over there. So if you're into any of that kind of stuff and you want to join that community, we have a link to our Patreon account on our website as well. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm at Dirt Lifestyle Nate. We'll see you next time.